You're listening to Cars and Coffee, your local home for IndyCar, Formula One, and sports car racing news.
Here on 91.3 WHJE.
And now, here's your host, Nathan Ward. Good morning, and welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. We are back after 2 weeks off, hoping everyone had a wonderful and relaxing spring break, just like I did, but it's time to jump right back into it and finish off the year strong. For the first time in a couple weeks, I actually have a couple of things in my little headlines and rumors section. If anyone listening has ever been on automotive YouTube at all, you've probably heard the name Cletus McFarland before. He's a guy, he owns his own personal short track called the Freedom Factory, and he just does a bunch of cool videos with a bunch of like, just like little beater cars and racing around his little track. He has weekly racing events there. He's been pursuing a NASCAR career over the last couple years. He's been racing in ARCA on and off, and he just made his first start in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series last week at Rockingham. He was supposed to gain approval after that race to run Talladega, but that has been withheld. And honestly, this is a good move by NASCAR. McFarland finished 36th, I want to say, out of 38 cars. He spun a couple times. He was generally off the pace. Having a slower driver like that at Talladega, while Rockingham is a very challenging track, I think Talladega is easier. Having a driver with that much pace disparity in the draft when any little mistake could take out the entire field, maybe not the best idea. So he's been denied approval for Talladega, and NASCAR has suggested to him maybe he should run more truck races this year and run more ARCA races this year, which I'm in full support of. I'm in full support of that. He just doesn't have enough experience. He has, I want to say, like 7 or 8 ARCA starts at the moment, and I think he's doing a full ARCA East season. I'm not quite sure, but he's not doing a full main ARCA series season. He's only doing the races where ARCA and ARCA East are the same race. ARCA is really complicated. I'll probably jump into more coverage of that very soon because I quite enjoy ARCA. It's kind of a glimpse into the past where you see this equipment disparity between the front-running teams and the smaller teams, and you can still kind of run whatever you want. Yes, all the engines are the same, but you have a difference. You have a choice of bodies to run from Chevy, Toyota, and Ford, but the special thing about the Ford teams is that they can run the Fusion or the Mustang. So you have a little bit of that older style of stock car racing where you have journeyman team owners, old guys, young guys coming together and doing it their way. Like ARCA West last night, I can't remember this dude's name, but 76-year-old dude taking the lead from a 15-year-old during the ARCA West race. I think his name's Dale Roberts or something like that. Absolutely crazy. ARCA's a fun watch when the driving standards are good, and honestly, they've gotten better with a lot of development drivers having to go through ARCA before moving up to the higher levels of NASCAR. So ARCA, I think, is on the up and up, and it's a pretty fun watch when it has companion weekends to NASCAR, and even when it doesn't, when it goes to little dirt tracks across the Midwest. They have 2 dirt races, both in Illinois, I think, at DuQuoin and Springfield Fairgrounds. I think those are the 2 dirt tracks, but ARCA's a fun watch wherever you end up catching them. They have 2 consecutive races this coming weekend, or not this coming weekend, these next 2 weekends. They're off this week at Bristol, but they will be at Kansas, and they will be at Talladega. Talladega is going to be silly. Talladega is usually a coin flip for ARCA. It's either really bland or it gets really stupid real fast, but always a pretty good watch. I suggest you start watching ARCA. ARCA's pretty fun. Speaking of Talladega, NASCAR has changed the Talladega stage lengths to combat the rampant fuel saving that has been seen at a lot of super speedway races in the past year or two. I'm in support of this, but I'm not quite sure how it works or how it will work, because if you've tuned in to any race at Daytona or Talladega, you'll see that the cars have been going, 3 wide pretty much for the first half of the race. They are sitting there 3 wide. It's not real. They are saving fuel, they're holding back, they're running about 20 miles an hour slower than what their actual speed, what they're capable of running. NASCAR has they have inverted the stage lengths. So the way NASCAR races work is they're split into 3 stages that are essentially just 3 mini races, and they award points at the end of each stage, but they throw a caution at the end of each stage so teams have an opportunity to pit, and it really takes away a lot of the strategy. Or it just makes the strategy really stupid because you can essentially do the race on 1 green flag pit stop, and that will come in the final stage, which is usually the length of the first 2 combined. NASCAR is trying to fix this by flipping them around and making the first stage the longest stage, so the green flag stop has to be there. And in theory, that will end the fuel saving that has been seen at especially Talladega, where they're running 4 wide maybe the first third of the race, and then when they actually start racing, they thin down to 2 wide, and the racing starts to kind of suck. So I don't know what to think of it. I don't know if it's going to work. NASCAR is just kind of throwing everything at the wall and hoping it sticks. I'd like to see it work. I'd like to see actual racing at Talladega, but seeing them 4 wide, even if it's at 20 miles an hour or 20 miles an hour slower than their top speed, they're still going 170 miles an hour. 4 wide for half an hour on end. That's crazy. Like, still, even though people downplay that, that's nothing to scoff at. But it's not, as the purists would say, quote, real racing. I'm all for more real racing, and I'm glad that NASCAR is trying to go back to basics. But really, what NASCAR really needs to do to end this era of really dumb pit strategy is to just eliminate stage cautions. They did it at road courses in 2023, and they didn't. The race at Watkins Glen almost went caution free, and they're like, "Oh, we can't do this. We can't do this. We need to have action. We need to have restarts." And then they brought stage cautions back on road courses for the rest of the year. I'd really like to see them get rid of stage cautions. I have no problem with stages. The concept is that you need to be consistent throughout the entire race to maximize your points total, which I am a fan of. As most people know, it is possible to win a race by sheer accident. And I think you should be rewarded more for being consistent. And I like the stages in that sense. I don't like that they throw a caution and reset the field at the end of the stage. Especially since that stage caution tends to last about 10 to 12 laps on any given track. Even at Daytona or Talladega, they still last like 5 laps, which is way too long. And those laps count in the next stage. So stage 2 is almost always the shortest for no reason other than NASCAR wants their caution, they want their restart, and they want their chaos. So that's all the NASCAR stuff out of the way for now. We will come back to NASCAR later. But before we move on to the Indy 500 entry list, here's how you can get in touch with the show on Instagram.
Want to get in touch with the show? Head over to the Cars and Coffee Instagram page at carsandcoffee_WHJE and send us a message. That's at carsandcoffee_WHJE. I'll try to answer as many messages as possible.
In the last week, several changes have occurred within the IndyCar paddock as well as outside of it that have affected the entry count of the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500. Just hours after telling Jenna Fryer that a 4th entry for the team is confirmed, Andretti Global CEO Dan Towers backed off that statement and said that the 4th entry will not be fielded. I was like paying attention to this live on Twitter. It was about a 45-minute difference between the Jenna Fryer story and I think it was Adam Stern or Nathan Brown, someone like that, some other reporter that was not Jenna Fryer. Dan Towers had told Jenna Fryer that they are doing a 4th car, and literally 45 minutes later, I think it was Adam Stern comes out and says, yeah, the 4th car is not happening. So that was weird. But there is a reason for this. Because within that 45 minutes, the FIA announced that it had rescheduled 2 Formula 2 races. As you know, because of the war in the Middle East, the F1 and the FIA had canceled the F1 weekends at Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Those 2 weekends include Formula 2 and F1 Academy races. The Formula 2 races have been rescheduled for what are now the 3rd and 4th rounds of the season in Miami and Montreal. The race in Montreal, the Canadian Grand Prix, is the same day as the Indianapolis 500. This affects Colton Herta in particular, who wanted to run the Indy 500 alongside his full season in Formula 2. But now that he's going to have to race Sunday morning in Montreal, Towers said that will not happen. He also said in the Jenna Fryer report, the one where he said that the 4th entry will be fielded, that he said there was interest from other parties, but the decision was made to shutter the 98 team for this year. With Andretti Global's decision to park its 4th entry, the IndyCar Series continues to sit about 1 car short of filling its minimum number of starting positions for the 500. To date, 31 cars have been confirmed. Now wait, that's 2 cars short. We'll get back to that later. The list is comprised of the 25 full-time IndyCar teams, so all of the charter teams, 2 from Dreyer and Reinbold Racing, who have been Indy only for several years now. Those will be for Connor Daly and Jack Harvey. Plus extra cars from Arrow McLaren. Ryan Hunter-Reay will be driving the 4th McLaren. Ed Carpenter will be in his own car for his team. Elio Castroneves will be driving a 3rd car for Meyer Shank. And Takuma Sato will be driving a 4th car for Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan. That takes us to 31. The 32nd entry is widely reported to come from Able Motorsports, who have fielded a car before for R.C. Enerson in the 2023 500. They have filed an entry, but IndyCar themselves are yet to confirm the fact that the Able car has been let in. I assume Jacob Abel will be driving that car. AJ Foyt Racing, which is aligned with Team Penske through the technical support it receives. Racer.com understands that it is most likely the 33rd and final entry for this year will come from AJ Foyt. Catherine Legg is understood to be the leading candidate for that 3rd Foyt car because she brings a lot of visibility to the series as one of the very few female drivers that regularly compete in IndyCar events. Stephen Wilson's name's out there. There are a couple other pay drivers that have their names floating around, but I think they'd go if they went with. I don't even know if I'd consider Catherine Legg a pay driver, but I think they'd go with Legg. She brings a lot of money. She brings a lot of attention from the media. But you never know. You never know till it's confirmed. But I think we get to 33 cars. Honda will not reallocate the engine lease from the 98 to another team. So we're stuck at 33 cars. And the engine leases from Abel and Foyt come from the Prema team, who have confirmed that they will miss the Indy 500 and are now aiming for a later return to IndyCar in June or later. I don't think that's happening. So Prema is even more dead than they were before. And those engine leases, so the way engine leases work is that engine manufacturers only want to give away a certain amount of engines, and the teams don't own the engines. They don't buy the engines because that will be way too expensive. So they have a lease agreement where, for the 500 only, they get 2 engines, a primary and a backup. For the whole season, full season teams get, I want to say 4. And then if they go over that, they have to take a grid penalty whenever they use the new engine. So that number for both Chevy and Honda is around 16 or 17. At that point, if they go further than that, the amount of engine leases that they're giving out compared to the engines they're building becomes unprofitable. They are at a loss if they go any further than that. So you're essentially limited to 34 to 35 cars. Sometimes 33, as in this case with Honda not choosing to not reallocate that engine lease. So I think they can spread those engines around to, I guess, the other Andretti teams in case any of the other Honda teams need a spare engine throughout the month of May. But that's what kind of handicaps us right now, is because the teams are frankly too poor to buy the engines. And it's a cost-saving measure to lease them and for the teams to not own them, which is fine. That leads to the maximum amount of teams possible, because there would absolutely be fewer teams if if they had to buy their own engines. But that's where we stand right now. 33 cars, I think, that's the top. I don't think we're going to get bumping this year, which is fine. There's still enough during the month of May to keep you busy, but it's sad not to see bumping, but it's understandable. Like, I don't think you're going to, like, if you're a team fielding an extra car, Foyt actually said this, I think it was Larry Foyt, they would not enter that third car if someone else entered that Honda, because then they have a probability of missing the race, and they don't want to take that monetary gamble to potentially miss the race, even though they probably won't. So that's where we're at on the Indy 500 entry list side of things. When we come back, we brought back our racecarsforyou.com featured listing. It's another old stock car. I think you'll find it interesting. But before that, we're going to cut to a quick song break. Here's Ventura Highway by America. You're listening to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE.
Don't go away. Cars and Coffee will be right back on 91.3 WHJE. Hi, if you're listening to this, that means you're listening to a replay of today's show. I just want to say thank you for listening, and make sure to subscribe to the This Week in Racing YouTube channel so you never miss another episode of Cars and Coffee, along with highlights from your favorite motorsport series. If you're listening on the WHJE website, go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just click the button below. Thank you so much for listening. Now, let's get back to the show. We now return to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE.
Welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. This week's RaceCarsForYou.com featured listing is a 1998 NASCAR Gen 4 stock car for $45,000. Face value, pretty good deal for a ready race car. This is an early 1990s Laughlin chassis. That's a company that built most NASCAR Cup chassis before teams started building their own. It was once driven by Jeff Bodine. This is an old Ford Taurus body. It does not have a Ford engine in it. It has a GM LS engine. We'll get to that later. It was once driven by Jeff Bodine. It is possibly a car from the old AK Racing team. That's Alan Kulwicki's team, who won the championship in Cinderella circumstances in 1992. The current owner has done a restoration on the car, installed a race spec GM LS engine, a dogbox transmission, and modified the front suspension and rear axle housing for road course racing. It has been inspected by HSR and has an annual sticker from last year and a logbook, new windows, wiring, plumbing, new master cylinders, stainless steel brake tubing, a new fuel-safe bladder fuel cell, new fuel pump, filter, regulator, hoses. Everything has been switched out on this car. It looks to be a fantastic restoration with brand new parts. LS engine is approximately 650 horsepower. Approximate mileage is less than 100 miles. Rebuilt calipers, new brake pads. The car comes with 3 extra sets of scuffed Goodyear tires, an extra set of Aero wheels, a bunch of new brake pads, extra set of calipers, rebuild kits. Transmission is brand new. Extra rear gear assembly, lightened and polished with carrying case, extra drive shaft and 4-speed transmission. The current owner fabricated himself a brand new passenger side battery box, added 150 pounds of lead ballast to the right side frame rail to balance the car out. It's balanced, aligned. This guy has all the parts removed from the original, so not only did he restore the car, he kept all the parts from the original, plus a bunch of Jeff Bodine memorabilia from this era that he ran this car. The car is available without the engine and fuel injection for $35,000, but oh my gosh, what a deal. This is probably one of the greatest, this is probably one of the best deals I've seen on this site. For $45K, you get all of that. It is a race-ready cup car with tons of spares. Like, this is a historic stock car racer's dream. Less than one engine hour, less than one transmission hour. Everything within this car, once it's been restored, is brand new. It doesn't look like it has run, but looking from the photos, it is in absolutely fantastic shape. It's apparently been running at Darlington and Daytona. There are pictures here from both. I imagine those are from historic events, but holy cow. Amazing deal for a roughly authentic. The only non-authentic thing about it is that it doesn't have a Ford engine in it. It has a Chevy, but other than that, they're pretty much the same at this point. An almost a 90% authentic, well restored NASCAR stock car from the 90s. Fantastic. It looks great. It's a fantastic deal, and honestly, this is the greatest deal I've ever found on Race Cars For You. It's just a glimpse into the gems that you can find on this website. I'd highly suggest checking them out. This segment isn't sponsored. It's just a segment. It's just a website that I love looking around and just scrolling for interesting deals for the show every week. And this is just amazing. Like, there's so much stuff for, like, I've seen rollers. Like, there's a Chevy Camaro roller, like no engine, just the chassis and the body, that is more expensive than this. And this is a fantastic restoration. Hats off to this guy. This guy's name's George Landis. Hats off to him for restoring a fantastic car. So, if you got $45,000 and you want to buy a historic car, this is a pretty good way to spend it. When we come back, we're going to talk about another series that NASCAR owns, and that is the International Motorsports Association, IMSA. What are they doing that's bringing in so many new fans to sports car racing? We'll talk about that when we come back here on Cars and Coffee. Here's one of my favorite duets ever, Stop Dragging My Heart Around by Stevie Nicks and Tom Petty.
Don't go away. Cars and Coffee will be right back on 91.3 WHJE. Hi, if you're listening to this, that means you're listening to a replay of today's show. I just want to say thank you for listening, and make sure to subscribe to the This Week in Racing YouTube channel so you never miss another episode of Cars and Coffee, along with highlights from your favorite motorsport series. If you're listening on the WHJE website, go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just click the button below. Thank you so much for listening. Now, let's get back to the show. We now return to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE.
Hello and welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. IMSA has announced an all-time attendance record for the Mobile 112 Hours of Sebring that was held, I think, 2 weeks ago, with over 115,000 attendees across 4 days for this year's 74th running of the event. This follows a purported record attendance for the Rolex 24 at Daytona, which drew over 180,000 spectators across the 4-day race meeting in January. Over 1 million people watched the race on TV, with a 37% increase in streaming viewership on NBC's Peacock platform, and a 23% increase in international viewership due to the race being live-streamed on IMSA's official YouTube channel. John Doonan said, quote, "The momentum behind IMSA has never been stronger, from a record-setting crowd at Sebring to continued growth across broadcast, streaming, and digital platforms. These results reflect the passion of our fans, the strength of our partners and teams, and the global appeal of sports car racing. As we head into the 2026 season, we're encouraged by the trajectory of the championship and excited about what's ahead." This week, The WeatherTech Sports Car Championship plays second fiddle to IndyCar at the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach on April 18th, airing live on the U.S. on NBC and Peacock and on IMSA's YouTube channel if you're listening internationally. I think IMSA's success comes down to one word: accessibility. The paddock at an IMSA race is incredibly open. You can walk. A general admission ticket can get you on pit road. You can walk through the garage, past the cars, and you can see cars that resemble exotic road cars from your dreams: Lamborghinis, Porsches, Ferraris, and the quickest of the quick prototypes from those same top-tier exotic brands. And I think the appeal is not just the brand identity and the recognizability of these cars. Like, you can see that car, looks like a Lamborghini. It's the fact that the cars resemble road cars. Even if they are road cars that are out of a majority of these people's budgets. I think that's the most appealing. They look like road cars, and the ones that don't are essentially spaceships. With how high-tech they are insane. IMSA has continued to knock it out of the park over these last couple years when it comes to attendance. I've heard that even the fact that the race at Indianapolis is now going to be a sprint race once again for this year. They're still selling. Every IMSA race I have seen since the end of the COVID shutdown, I think, has been absolutely packed. There are people everywhere that will absolutely take some time out of their day to go watch IMSA, and I think that's fantastic. Yes, 1 million people when it comes to racing, like on TV, that's pretty good. Even compared to IndyCar, that's amazing. I don't know if that number is just on network or across Peacock or both, but that's great. 1 million people on streaming is absolutely nuts. Like, IndyCar couldn't pull, I think at the max, IndyCar pulled 150,000 viewers on streaming. 1 million people on Peacock is absolutely insane. So, hats off to IMSA for creating an entertaining, a flat-out amazing racing product. The racing's fantastic. The cars are fantastic. The events themselves, I hear, are amazing atmospheres. I really hope I can get to the tire rack battle on the bricks this year on the Indy Road Course. An IMSA race is definitely near the top of my bucket list because of how immersive and inclusive the fan experience is and what you can see just as a general admission fan. I think that is fantastic. IMSA has released the entry list for the upcoming Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach that will be on Saturday, with just the GTP and GTD classes competing, 11 cars in the Grand Touring Prototype category, and 17 in GT Daytona. One noteworthy change in GTP is a one-off drive for Porsche Works driver Lauren Heinrich, who is now driving the Mustang Sampling No. 5 for JDC Miller Motorsports. This is Heinrich's first year as a top-tier Porsche Works driver, and he is the 2024 GTD Pro champion. He has already taken overall victories in the Rolex 24 and the 12 Hours of Sebring as a crew member of the No. 7 Porsche Penske Motorsports car. Heinrich will make his first start on the streets of Long Beach, as will Frederick Vesti in the No. 31 Whelen Cadillac in place of Earl Bamber, who will be racing in the opening round of the World Endurance Championship at the 6 Hours of Imola. The GTD class features a couple of one-off entries from regular GTD Pro competitors, joining the already announced entries from defending Long Beach class winners AO Racing, who are bringing Rexy to the GTD field once again. Hot Wheels is actually coming out with a brand new Rexy Team Transport set. That's another thing that has drawn so many people to IMSA, is the fact that the cars and the teams are so likable. They're so marketable, and I think the prime example of that is AO Racing. AO Racing has done an amazing job with painting their cars like silly little creatures. They have Rexy the Porsche, they have Spike the Dragon, that's their LMP2 car. They have so much pull with these cars that they're bringing in an entire younger generation of fans to sports car racing, and I think that's what's keeping IMSA alive. And that's awesome. Pfaff Motorsports will also enter its brand new Lamborghini Temerario GT3 to gain more experience with the new car, as Lamborghini is phasing out the Huracan in favor of the brand new Temerario. And Vassar Sullivan Racing will run 2 Lexus RCF GT3s as usual, but it has moved its GTD Pro crew down to GTD in the number 89 car. I love Long Beach, personally. Long Beach is a great track for IndyCar. It's a great track for IMSA. The difference with this track and Detroit, so the two races that IMSA supports IndyCar with, they are 100-minute sprint races, not the 2-hour and 40-minute sprint races, which is fine. I don't necessarily want to see 28 cars for 2.5 hours. Like, that's the car count to race time ratio is actually pretty good for these 100-minute street races. Among the regular entries, Robert Wickens is driving the DXDT Racing number 36 Corvette. He will be using a hand control steering wheel as normal. He will compete in the 5 IMSA sprint rounds alongside Brian Herta Autosport co-driver Mason Philippi. They have raced together in the Michelin Pilot Challenge before. Wickens, I think, has won a Michelin Pilot Challenge championship, which is incredibly impressive for how much he has gone through. Heart of Racing team has shuffled its drivers around due to its commitments at Imola, as well as their GTP crew and their hypercar crew. In addition, Corey Lewis will begin his sprint campaign alongside Jake Walker in the number 66 Gradient Racing Ford Mustang, and Callum Ilott, who is apparently without an IndyCar drive for the foreseeable future, will continue to drive the number 120 Wright Motorsports Porsche, ensuring that he will get to race at Long Beach despite his IndyCar team not being there. That's all of the IMSA news for this week. When we come back, we will preview today's NASCAR Cup race at Bristol Motor Speedway and talk about how the Cup drivers dominated the lower series events leading up to the Cup race here tonight in Tennessee. We'll be right back here on Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. Here's Morning Song by the Avett Brothers.
Don't go away. Cars and Coffee will be right back on 91.3 WHJE. Hi, if you're listening to this, that means you're listening to a replay of today's show. I just want to say thank you for listening, and make sure to subscribe to the This Week in Racing YouTube channel so you never miss another episode of Cars and Coffee, along with highlights from your favorite motorsport series. If you're listening on the WHJE website, go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just click the button below. Thank you so much for listening. Now, let's get back to the show. We now return to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE.
Welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. This week, all 3 of NASCAR's National Touring Series visit Bristol Motor Speedway up in the mountains of Tennessee. The Craftsman Truck Series race was Friday night, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race was last night, and the Cup Series takes to the track today, this afternoon, for the Food City 500. Cup drivers have dominated the lower series races this weekend, with Christopher Bell taking the win Friday night in the Craftsman Truck Series race, driving a second truck for team owner Stuart Friesen. Corey Heim, on the other hand, had 350,000 reasons to be disappointed after his dream of completing the Triple Truck Challenge and earning a $350,000 bonus for doing so ended prematurely against the Turn 1 wall. Heim had won the previous Triple Truck Challenge races at Darlington and Rockingham, and was battling with Christian Eckes for the lead when Eckes turned him into the outside wall in Turn 1. Bell finished 0.3 seconds ahead of Chandler Smith's number 38 Front Row Motorsports F-150, and he scored his first NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series victory since 2017, when he won the championship that year. Bell is also the most recent Cup Series winner at Bristol back in the fall of 2025 during the Bass Pro Shops night race. The race featured 9 cautions for 76 laps. Christian Eckes led a race-high 132 laps compared to Bell's 63 and won the first stage of the event. Ben Rhodes stayed out under caution on lap 22 and claimed the Stage 2 win for ThorSport and the 99 Ford F-150. In the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, a dominant run from Kyle Larson was spoiled late by 19-year-old Cup Series rookie Connor Zilisch and 18-year-old O'Reilly Series rookie Brent Cruz. Zilich was one of the 3 drivers who stayed out during a late race caution, with crew chief Rodney Childers opting to get him the lead, albeit on older tires. After a tense battle with Brent Cruz and Kyle Larson, Zilich escaped the pressure as both slipped up the track. A massive shout-out has to be given to Cruz, by the way. Brent Cruz just turned 18 before the Rockingham weekend, and thus gained approval to race at all tracks. He had only done 4 races up to this point because those were the only tracks he could do. He did COTA, he did Martinsville. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but he's only done 4 races this year. He absolutely drove the wheels off that number 19 Joe Gibbs Toyota all night for a 3rd place finish. For Zilich, this is a positive finish. This positive finish in O'Reilly is a lone good day in a rookie season to forget so far, but he's looking to keep that momentum into the Cup race today. He will start, I think, in the mid-20s, I believe. A shout-out must be given to one, we also need to shout out one J.J. Yaley, who finished 26th last night driving the single Ford Mustang in the field, the number 5 for Hettinger Racing. This team has been without a major sponsor most of the season and has reportedly struggled with inventory issues due to lack of other Ford teams for support. Great job on a clean run for the number 5 team. Chris Hettinger confirmed that they will continue their season, and they will be at Kansas and they will be at Talladega. So if you want a little team to root for in the O'Reilly Series, Hettinger is a great choice. In the Cup race today, Ryan Blaney will start on pole for Team Penske, his 2nd pole at Bristol at a track he has never won at. The Joe Gibbs and 2311 Racing Toyotas had a very, very good qualifying session. Riley Herbst has continued an upward trend in the past weeks for the 35 team, qualifying 4th. And in his return to NASCAR racing, Alex Bowman qualified 27th. Kyle Busch qualified 29th near the rear of the field. William Byron qualified 34th. The race is largely expected to be less crazy than the previous years, with Goodyear introducing a new tire compound that degrades far less quickly than the one used at Bristol in 2024 and 2025. The Food City 500 broadcast will begin at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox, and it's time to introduce the Pick 5. I did this for, I believe it was not Barber, it was the race before that. I can't think right now. Arlington. So, how this works, and I'm going to do this on Instagram. By the way, follow us on Instagram at carsandcoffee_WHJE. I will start posting pick 5s, where I pick 4 drivers that could potentially win the race today. I can do this for NASCAR, for IndyCar, for any single class racing series, essentially. And I'll continue to do it more on Instagram to boost interactions with the community. So, I pick 5 drivers. 4 of them are contenders, and I pick 1 extra dark horse contender. So 1 driver that may not be able to win on pure pace or strategy, but with a little bit of luck, they can have a really good day and potentially be up there for the win at the end. So, my 4 contenders for this Food City 500 here at Bristol are Kyle Larson in the 5 for Hendrick Motorsports, Chase Briscoe and Christopher Bell for Joe Gibbs Racing, and Tyler Reddick for 2311. And my dark horse, surprisingly, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Riley Herbst is my dark horse to win the Food City 500. He will start the race from 4th, his best ever qualifying effort, in a continuing upward trend for the 35 team, where some positivity is really needed after a not so ideal 2025 season. So I think Riley Herbst has kind of hit the spot here. He had a great qualifying. He was provisional pole for most of qualifying. He ended up 4th at the end of the day. These Toyotas are fast, and I think Riley Herbst has an amazing chance to have a career day for the number 35 team, and Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin for 2311 Racing. That's it for this week's episode of Cars and Coffee. We will be back next week with more regularly scheduled programming. Thank you for listening. Here is Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin.